Hey Sign Seekers, Mr. Pfeiffer. It's an episode of the Sign Seeker Show. And I'm going to take this camera so I can show you guys the rest of what our episode is about, which is physics today. So, you can see this is my scooter, and you can see I drove up on it today. Turn it off to be safe. And then I want to talk to you guys about some of the concepts of physics and driving and safety, okay? So one thing you'll notice is that when I was driving, I was going real fast, right? And then when I stopped, I kind of fell forward, okay? Well, I'm going to use this little virus bacteria. Actually, this is a virus. This is the common cold. Not as bad as the coronavirus, but it's still a virus. It still sucks. So, when you're driving and you stop, the first law of motion, Newton's laws of motions, so object in motion stays in motion. So, this thing would fly forward like that. Now, I'm going to move this scooter because apparently somebody is driving into the parking lot right now, which is not a big deal, but we need to get out of the way. Hey, Miss Knief, filming a Science Seeker show, making an episode on physics right now. So, that first law of motion, object in motion stays in motion, is identified as the law of inertia, okay? And that means that this little virus is going to want to fly forward when I stop. This is why we have seatbelts. Now, Mr. Pfeiffer has to slow down so that he doesn't fall forward on the scooter because there is no seatbelt, okay? Now, another law of motion that I want to talk about is for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. That's the third law of Newton. And Newton says that, if I was to fall, let's say this was to crash into something, okay, all of that energy would come back into me. So all the energy going this way, that action would stop. And the opposite reaction would be all the energy coming back and me absorbing it. That's not good either. Now this leads to my last and final piece. If you notice, Mr. Pfeiffer was wearing this helmet when he was driving. And that's because one day, true story, Mr. Pfeiffer was driving and doing a parent conference. And I was doing student-parent conferences, and I was driving home that day. And this is the last day I'm going to ride this scooter today, and that's because of the weather. It's a little bit of a scary story, kids. Well, what happened was, it's late October, this was probably late September, early October, and we were driving, and it had just rained, and there was some leaves on the ground. And one thing you learn about in 8th grade is physics, and you're going to learn about forces. Friction. Friction is another force. Well, the problem was Mr. Pfeiffer was wearing his helmet, but he was on some wet leaves and he was turning a corner, and I had no friction, okay? Friction is basically what's going to happen when these tires touch this road. But because we had wet leaves, water acts as a lubricant, it actually made me slip out and turn a little. And if it wasn't for the great engineering and designs of this helmet, you can see kind of where I scraped it up a little bit right there, I probably would be in a lot more danger. So it's important to not only wear a helmet, but remember physics and how it works, and know when and where to stop. So after that, Mr. Pfeiffer has learned to retire driving once September hits. So we'll see Sasha the scooter another day. And take care, kids. See you at the next episode. Peace.